Hello everyone, welcome back to the Transformers Reimagined series, and this week's episode we have a pretty requested one. This is Starscream as the 2004 BMW Williams F1 car. Now, he was suggested as just an F1 car without any really an idea of an F1 that they wanted him to be. If I can find the comment, I'll post it just above here or in a few minutes when we start drawing. But just wanted to say this is going to be a slightly different style of video because I went through a few more processes that I wouldn't usually do with the other ones. And I took a few more creative liberties to chop it up and make it look more G1-y. It's not my most perfect one, but I hope you stick around and watch till the end of this video. So let's get right into this. Alrighty. So this is going to be a little bit different. I'm actually going to talk through the first half of this video. And the actual drawing of the character will be a bit more different. So this is for the Starscream F1 car. I can't remember who suggested it, but I will put their, if I can figure it out, how to put their comment up on the screen. But so what we're going to do is, let me just slide this layer up here real quick, and I'm going to grab some red. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take Starscream's head and null rays and transfer them onto our old mate Mirage here. We're going to get rid of the arm cannon and probably the gun at this stage too, because Starscream doesn't have a gun, they're built into his arms. He obviously won't have wings because he's not a jet, so we don't need those. And the cockpit here I'll find a way to kind of incorporate that into this section here. And Decepticon logos will probably have a slot on the arms there or the legs. That's more Shockwave-esque, and I think that might be a bit more unique, or they can go directly on the face of the shins there. Or I just realized that it might fit perfectly within this little section here. So let's get rid of this layer, add a new layer here, and another one, why not? Let's fill this layer with a sludge-like green because they don't have any green on them. We'll set the opacity to 50 so we can see everything below that, and then come back up to our drawing layer. First actually, let's take Mirage, layer mask selection, and then we're going to get our eraser and come to let's say 5 pixels. Now I'm going to speed through this so you guys aren't sitting there for too long, but we're just going to get rid of everything that we don't really need from Mirage. And for Starscream, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to chop and change him. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to duplicate his layer, and because he's an image inserted into it, I find it's easier just to merge with layer below, and now I can edit whatever I want off of him. He looks pretty respectful. Alright, so we can get rid of this Starscream, reinsert our green layer, and then this is the bit where I trace over it and turn it into a quote-unquote official character. Now I just did the bunny thing with my hands, you didn't see that, but here's a little quick time lapse of that. Alright, so reason why I'm doing this is because I needed a reference of roughly a shape of an F1 car. Honestly, I could have used drag strip for this, but I think with the characters I've done so far, I'm going to stick to season 1 characters, and using Mirage is a good option for this. Now, I could have said it's because of the blue and white color scheme, which is what the BMW F1 car is, but then ultimately I don't use those colors in the end, so it would be kind of pointless to have like that. But this was a good learning experience, because in the sense that, one, I haven't done something like this before, and two, it made a interesting looking G1 character by the end of it, because he's still on the outside of G1. I've just mixed and mashed like Starscream and Mirage for the purpose of this video. I think it turned out great just by those small little details, like keeping the null rays and obviously his head, just kind of make it pop and make it look like it should be a real Transformer. It doesn't even have to be Starscream, it could be a completely new Seeker that decided, oh well, I'm not gonna take this alt mode because I don't want to be a jet, I want to be something different, like a rebellious Seeker. Land Seeker is more what this is. But in that case, you would think that would be something like a Jeep, but no. I had fun making this little section of him. It's cool to have something like this now just permanently saved onto my device, and for anyone else that wants to screenshot and save it for themselves. The colouring I went with, I tried to match up the best of my ability where each of his colours are naturally on Starscream in general. I do plan to do an alt mode, like recolor Mirage's alt mode, and add like the null rays to the side and stuff to make it look more like Starscream has actually taken on this alt mode. If you counted how many times I said alt mode in that sentence, you'd probably have 5 to 10. Yeah, so let's get into the actual process of making Starscream our F1 guy here. So I've already pre-set up our layers, and let's start with the front view like always. Now, I found this really hard to trace because it's not entirely clear what I should and shouldn't keep for the F1 car. Like, I tried to keep some of the suspension and make it look somewhat natural, but this isn't my best one yet. And I will come back and revisit this and retry it, see what I can do differently. I'll keep the same alt modes when I retry them, but just try and make them look better, or make them look more 80s-ish, but keep the style with it, so I can learn from my previous experience and improve for the next time around I do this. Now, I found I didn't want to keep the driver in the seat there, so I've made up my own thought on how that little seat area would look, and I'm removing things like the lights on top and small little details that they probably wouldn't have drawn on in the 80s. Now, this time around I'm going to outline all of the characters first, before, or all of the vehicles, and then Starscream himself, and then colour it in all at once. I don't know why I did it backwards this time around. I think it was more so I could see how efficiently I could draw it that way. But that's sort of not what happened. I'm going to go back to the old way next time around, because I found if I coloured it first and then moved on to the next drawing, I have a better reference for, oh, so this section I coloured red, so I need to make sure when I draw it on the back view I cut it off at a certain point so I can keep it the same, so the grey and the blue, one side's not just straight blue and the other side's a little bit grey, sort of thing. Now, Starscream's chest here, I tossed and turned on for a little bit there, because I really like that little neck pocket that Mirage's F1 car usually has, but he's not the same model, so I've gone with something a little bit different, and that diffuser overhangs his hips a fair bit, so it kind of hides them. But that's the beauty of doing this. Like, I don't have to keep the shoulder panels that Mirage has. I can make the intakes on the side of the F1 car itself, like his shoulders, and have his arms come out from the actual intake itself. Now, I didn't incorporate the null rays this time around. hopefully if I reattempt this, I will incorporate them onto the side or on the top somehow, or even if I make them the exhaust. I did add my own little greebling there with having the elbow joint have those almost like pipelines drawn on them, like a mechanical tube, or like a flexi piece of metal pipe. And then I didn't do much for the legs. I did change them a fair bit to make them look more like the side of the car, because this time around I really wanted to think about how he would transform. Like with this version of him, I wanted his legs to spin around, his arms to tuck into the legs where the vents are, and then the chest to fold up and over, because the legs would now be facing backwards to become the back end of the car. So the chest folding up would be now the top of the car on his back, where the legs would now be facing. I wanted to have him make more sense in his alt mode, much like Cliffjumper and Bumblebee, where they're more cohesive in the way that they look like they would transform. Something that I didn't quite do on Megatron, or something that I didn't quite do on maybe Shockwave, in a sense. It's tricky because I'm working off, like, Shockwave's design, he's designed to turn into that space pistol thing, which is fine. But turning that into a motorbike's a bit of a feat in itself. But I think I made Shockwave work in the end. Same with Blaster and Soundwave there, turning them into cars, although not a challenge really, but it's still like you gotta think about how they would fold up from being this blocky vehicle into this now, sorry, a blocky handheld instrument to now this boombox to vehicle of a car of some sort, which then you look at and go, alright, so they've got to have wheels now, they've got to have a windshield, they've got to have some means of how the doors appear and all the rest. Alright, so coming here now, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to change the look of Starscream's face, because although I like the way it usually looks, and in a minute you'll see what I mean, I'm going to change it. Whether you like it or not, let me know in the comments below if you've seen this part. I think it turned out great. I took some inspiration from Transformers 1's Thundercracker, how he has like a different head sculpt, and I'll talk about that more when you see it. But this is me pretty much doing the legs now that I'm happy with a rough sketch of it. I'm going to trace that around and copy it so it looks more like those wings on the back there. And here's what I mean, getting rid of most of that. So Thundercracker in Transformers 1 now has a visor, and I think that looks sick, especially for someone that's in the sky, but I think more so in this case it makes it look like he's wearing a racing helmet, which I just thought was super interesting. Now going through with the primary colors of Starscream here, I'm gonna make sure hopefully that I don't miss a spot. Now I'm gonna have to go back over and fix that because I realized I colored on the wrong layer. Oh well, so I'm gonna just duplicate that layer again, merge it back together so it's one whole layer. But then I can't remember if I got stuck or not colouring it, but I know in some places I was like, I don't know whether or not if I should colour that colour or not. But I think compared to the base model that I made myself, he turned out quite well for old Screamer here. I don't know why I missed that little centre bit at the top of his head, but it's fixed now. Adding the Decepticon insignia to his knees, actually, is what I ended up going with. Because then that can kind of match up with these tail fins on the side, which I imagine would be the bits that become the knees. That's the one part that I don't know would kind of work in transformation, but with the amount of G1 animation errors, it will work somehow. and then just doing some white details everywhere. And then I'm going to add this racing logo to his chest there, because I don't know, it needs something, and that sort of semi-Decepticon design is the first thing that came to mind, and I actually really like it. I think it's kind of cool. And tracing around the last few little decals here, and then adding this stripe down to this bottom car, and I'm just going to add like a race tally or like a kill to count on the side there, and I'm happy with that. So here is Starscream in full. I think he turned out excellent for the time I put into him, but at the same time I don't think it's my best work. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you to this person commenting. I'll put the comment back up here again, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Thank you very much, and your grandma loves you. Bye.